So it's like normal AI.
It's not doing any good at all. Everyone, welcome to Werewolf Radar, the world's most premier paranormal preparedness podcast. My name is Roger Norquist.
I am Nate Balding.
And Jordan Dahl is lost within the pie dimension. This is not a dimension filled with yummy pies and cobblers, which I now learned at work are considered pies. But that's a whole separate thing.
No, it's a cobbler.
Exactly.
There's a reason that it's called that.
Yeah, and that's why we're all on the same podcast. But we are talking about the number pi, the dimension within the number pi that goes on to infinity. Hopefully we find him, but he is lost within the infinite digits, which allow all science to truly happen. Pi is very important. This show, of course, is brought to you by...
You couldn't have a circle without pi.
You couldn't have a circle without... You couldn't have pie without pi. Think about that, all right? And this show is brought to you by Monstroko Streaming, a streaming network brought to you by Monstroko that features the greatest paranormal, ghost, and monster found footage movies this side of the Pacific. Warning, they might drag you into their dimension where you will be feasted upon for all time.
Yeah, most of it's just videos of your own death.
So, not most of it. A good 20-30% of it are videos of your own death. But the other half are grainy Bigfoot photos. Stuff like that, you know. It's good stuff. I like it. Think about signing up. Once again, asterisks, you may be dragged into a digital world where your flesh will be feasted on for all eternity. Now, Nate, do you want to go first on this one, or shall I? We both have some fun segments. For this.
Either way, I have...
Mine's more of a rehash.
I have several things.
Okay, mine's more of a rehash. So let me go first, and then we'll bring in the new stuff. But it's been a while since we've talked about one of the most frightening things that we have ever, I think, truly brought upon this Pingo Nation, as I call it, and that is the Hat Man.
Oh, the Hat Man's terrifying.
The Hat Man is terrifying. He is a shadow figure with a hat.
It has been coming up a ton recently.
It has all sorts of stories of shadow figures, and we call it out. We go, there's a Hat Man, but we haven't really explained what that is for new listeners. And let's go into that. I'm pulling from a book that I got from Amazon called The Hat Man, True Stories, The True Story of Evil Encounters. And this is from one Heidi something or other.
That's fantastic. I don't know this book yet.
I'm trying to find.
Great.
I'm trying to find overall the table of content, the first page of it, so I can see the author. Her name's Heidi. All right. Despite this book being formatted in weird ways, her name's Heidi. And let's go into this book a little bit. This book is also a little bit autobiography plus stories that people have sent her through email or written correspondence about their experiences with shadow figures, and specifically the Hat Man in this case. So I'm going to call this segment, Dear Heidi, I'm being terrorized by a shadow with a hat. So the first one starts, Dear Heidi, when I was maybe 5 years old, I was about 5 years old when the Hat Man started to visit me. Every night I would lay in the top bed of my bunk bed and watch as my door would crack open for him to creep inside. As high up as I was, I would still have to look up to see him, and I would freeze in horror at the sight of him. He moved faster than anything humanly could as he would spring toward me. He would then say,
he's not a human.
he would then say,
Heidi Hollis, by the way.
Thank you. He would then say, one day I will have you. Then he would put his hands around my neck and begin to choke me. I would shoot straight up in my bed, screaming at the top of my lungs, and then he would just disappear. So he would like get in to choke you, put your hands around your what is that called? Your neck.
Jugular?
Yeah, your jugular. Thank you. And then like you would shoot up trying to fight it, and he's a ghostly thing, so obviously you just go straight through him and then he'd be gone. Horrifying. My mom would just dismiss it all, though she had taken me to doctors to try and help me with my nightly outburst. She eventually grew tired of it and took the light bulb out of the lamp in my bedroom.
What? This isn't helping.
And the reason is so that I couldn't get up to turn it on all night long. One night, she even locked the door on me with the Hat Man inside of the room. I don't want to blame the mom here because moms be tired. You know
what? I do want to blame the mom.
This is some like torture shit to where like the mom, I assume the mom's very tired and just needs to sleep.
Yeah, I'm sure that she does, and there's probably some reasonable explanation. But this sounds like if Ellen Burstyn in The Exorcist was a shitty parent.
Just locks the door on the child. Well, if you're going to vomit pea soup, I'm going to lock the door and you can deal with that mess.
I'm not calling anybody. How about that?
During this time, when she was locked inside her room, she constantly heard the Hat Man come close to me and say, "Now I've got you."
That's kind of interesting. I suppose it doesn't say, but is she hearing him move across the room, or is she just hearing the whisper? Because I've never heard of a shadow being making noise.
It's not making noise, it's whispering. That's really what I'm getting on this.
Okay.
This night, however, tragedy strikes. It was on this night that my mother didn't hear me scream, so she came into the room to check on me eventually and found my body was pushed through the narrow wooden rails of my bunk bed, hanging by my neck. It took my mom 3 of her male friends to pry the wood apart to get me out from between the wooden planks. Afterwards, they found large hand marks around my neck in bruises. They did CPR to bring me back to life, and I woke screaming, "He almost had me." After that, I slept with my mom every night until we moved out of the place. Never saw him again.
Yeah, no shit. Get the fuck out.
Dear Heidi, when I was 5 years old, I woke up to a man in my bedroom. He wore a black fedora hat and a black overcoat, and his skin was pale and grayish, so a little bit more than a shadow figure. And I could see his face pretty clearly. When I more fully woke up, he left my room. I was extremely scared, so I ran to my parents' bedroom to wake them both up. The closet door inside of their bedroom was wide open. And when I passed the closet, I sort of glanced inside of it, and the man was standing inside the closet. That just gave me the worst goosebumps. He stood almost...
That's all it gave you? Goosebumps?
I got some goosebumps.
The closet monster?
Oh, no. Roger, the person reading this, got the worst goosebumps right there.
Gotcha.
He stood He stood almost to the top of the closet door frame, so he had to be between 6.5 and 7 feet tall. His face was old and reminded me of the older Boris Karloff in looks. So the Hat Man, we can put a face to the Hat Man. It's Boris Karloff.
Boris Karloff in Ghost in the Invisible Bikini.
He had huge hound dog eyes, though, and had a faint gray and white mustache against his pale grayish skin.
This sounds a lot like a Man in Black encounter.
We're getting there, man. Something impersonating a humanoid form. As I walked past the closet and saw him now standing there, I freaked out and quickly tried to wake my parents up. I shook my dad to get up because the older man in their closet. I mean, you didn't have to say because. We gotcha. My dad awoke along.
You've led us down a logic trail.
You're good. You can shorten that sentence, but don't worry. You're writing in a panic form. You're not a writer. Neither am I truly, until later when I get this fiction finally figured out where I want to go. My dad awoke along with my mom, and they turned on the light to find that there was no man in the closet. I tried to explain that he must have left as I was trying to wake them up. I always believed that I wasn't having a nightmare, even though my parents convinced me I was. My entire life, I kind of thought that he might have been a predator or a kidnapper, since I always did think of the event as a real occurrence. I even told my wife about it as a childhood memory that had always stalked me. Then, while surfing around the web, I stumbled upon Heidi's website. And here others have similar encounters. I didn't feel as if he was menacing other than him being a strange man in the house, though. So this is a little bit different than the strangler that we had earlier.
Yeah.
But it stuck with him for a good 45 years.
Several decades.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah.
He's 50 now, or as writing this, they were 45 years ago. This one is about just shadow people in the chapter Contemplations. What the heck? Dear Heidi, my wife and I have had experiences with several types of shadow people. We have even tried to contact several demonologists for their help, but we have had no luck going this route in getting rid of this presence. Well, that's because you haven't called Roger and Nate's demonologist school. We'll teach you
exactly
how to piss off your demon.
Did you already try to contact Charlie from the UK?
He doesn't know shit.
He's no good. Check the news for this reference.
Yeah, wait till Wednesday for that reference. But it's good, all right? It's a pretty solid one. So for 3 years, my wife and I have been experiencing poltergeist activity directly from shadow people. We feel like we are losing our minds. I don't know how else to say this, but I have even been bitten by a black shadowy cloud. That's crazy.
That is... Yeah,
that's a rare one with stories. You hear getting scratched, but you don't hear just getting the mouth around you and being bit. My wife,
an extra weird one.
My wife was once woken up by a 9-foot tall shadow person, not pussy is what I almost said.
My wife got woken up by a 9-foot tall shadow pussy.
And this shadow person had horns or a hat. My wife woke me up while yelling, "In the name of Jesus Christ, I rebuke ya." That's how you know whether or not you're Christian. Like in American society. If that's your
go-to.
Yeah, if that's what you say while waking up, you're a Christian. It immediately...
If you've ever rebuked a shadow demon in the name of Christ, you might be a Christian.
Werewolf Radar's first stand-up album. Just us asking if you might be a Christian. In the name of Jesus, I rebuke you. It immediately left. I have been personally thrown out of my bed by one of the Head and Shoulders shadows. So I think just like a shadowy drop after the head and shoulders. But get this,
not like it has a very clear scalp.
Yeah. No. Get the fuck out of here. Nate will be here all week. He's closing the show with that one.
Bingo bango. I will hack my way through the end of this show.
As he was throwing me out or onto my bed, sorry, I've been personally thrown onto my bed by one of the Head and Shoulders shadows, the newest mascot. But get this, the shadow person spoke.
Monstroko brand medium close-up shot.
As he was throwing me onto my bed, which did wake up my wife, it screamed, "Jesus Christ has no power over me."
So that's 2 stories now where the shadow has spoken. And I have never heard of that happening before.
Was that the first one it spoke or the second one? Yeah, the first one speaks. It says, "Now I've got you." Plus, right. I thought it was something else, but I don't see it. I think it just says, "Now I've got you."
One
day I will have you.
You or whatever.
Yeah, one day I'll have you. I will have you. Now I've got you. Now we have another phrase, "Jesus Christ has no power over me." It knows our language, Nate.
Well, with Babel, it can know even more.
Listen, we're a Duolingo podcast, okay?
Fair enough.
Dear Heidi, this story starts when I was 5 years old. My mom had just sent me to bed, though I protested with all that I had. As I was laying, also, all these stories start at 5 years old.
Yeah, that's interesting as well.
It's interesting, something to note.
I mean, and is that? Pardon me.
You're pardoned. Go on.
Thank you. I mean, is that just people when they generally don't remember
the exact age? It's probably a good start to be like
5.
I was around 5. Dear Heidi, this story starts when I was 5 years old. We won't doubt them, but I think that's a good place to be like, this was around 5 years old. My mom had just sent me to bed, although I protested with all that I had. As I lay in bed, refusing to close my eyes, I looked at my bedroom door and saw something odd manifest. I assume the child spoke like this too. A bright red tunnel with horizontal lines began to form and literally come out to my door. My room was completely black except for the light coming from this red tunnel. That's when I saw this man in black appear. He came right out of the tunnel wearing a trench coat and top hat. He was walking towards me, but he wasn't getting any closer or gaining ground. That's weird.
Yeah, that's even kind of hard to picture.
Were your
He's
parents
just like doing a Running Man situation?
Were your parents like AV nerds who loved pulling pranks on you, and it was just like a screen? They're like, "This will get them." I was completely filled with terror as I started screaming for my mom to come. My mom came running into my room, and I told her what I saw as fast as I could. It wasn't believed, of course. It wasn't until much later that I learned from my sister that she had seen this Hat Man too. She claimed to even have conversations with him, but she couldn't remember anything that was said. My mom would always ask her who she was talking to, and she would reply, "The man in the hat and coat." My sister, go on.
The speaking makes me think that it's not actually a Hat Man encounter. It makes me think it's like a weird Man in Black thing.
But the Men in Black don't have these interdimensional. I mean, I don't know what the Men in Black have. Okay,
No,
I don't go into the secret.
They definitely do.
Agency.
They flew through the initial the first guy to report on the Men in Black, whose name escapes me at the moment.
Are we talking the Mothman sightings or before?
No, it's before.
Okay.
This is 1940s.
Ooh, okay.
Maybe. Might be 1950. Either way, it's before. They came through his ceiling and through his walls, and they would suck out his life force.
Oh, okay. So this could be a Man in Black. Perhaps in the right light, are they the same, you know? And like, just because the human eye can only see so much, like sometimes this hat and trench coat looks like it's a head and shoulders shadow. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if it's dark, there's no way to differentiate between a shadow and a guy.
Yeah, there's no gay in the dark, okay? Ghost and guys feel the same. So, my sister eventually moved away to college, and she had a good friend who lived next door to her. One time in the middle of the night, her friend came banging on her door saying that a man in a top hat was sitting on her bed. My sister told me that she laughed and said he was probably just looking for me.
All right. We've got to parse that. So this guy was watching her from afar.
No, he was watching the Hat Man, in this case, got the houses wrong, and he was watching the sister's neighbor instead of the sister, who the Hat Man was typically there to be like, "Hey, I'm here to watch you and have a conversation about life." I assume is how he starts. "Hey there, I'm just here to have a conversation again.
What do you know about celestial seasonings? This tea is really good. Can I invite you to a cult?"
My other sister said that her new boyfriend claimed that he saw the Hat Man standing over him in bed as soon as she left the house. So the other sister, the boyfriend would be watched by the Hat Man when the other sister would just get up for work and leave him in the bed. Tons of strange and bad luck have always been in my life. I've even had dreams of being in a dark place with shadow watchers and shadow people in rooms with cages. I believe that this Hat Man has been visiting us is pure evil. Except for that one sister who's all like, "I have nightly conversations with him," and he's not that bad.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like he's doing anything weird.
So I have a bunch more of these firsthand encounters. I'm going to wrap up this segment, which I have titled Dear Heidi, the Hat Man Sagas. And I pass the speaking skull to you, which I did speak without opening it. I hope it doesn't curse me. Here you go, Nate.
I shall open the speaking skull, and it doesn't seem to want to open. It's
Is it upset?
It might get. Can it get lockjaw? Can that happen to a skull? So what I ended up doing this week in my time off was looking into if there was any weird monsters in Ottawa.
Why?
I don't know.
I mean, that's what I deal with, just random cities around the world as well. So, like, I guess I know the answer because we are the crew of Werewolf Radar.
Yeah, it just seemed like we hadn't talked about Ottawa And
Ever?
who has in a long, long time.
Isn't that the capital of Canada?
It is.
Yeah, who the fuck talks about that shit? I don't even think Justin Trudeau's there. He's just like mostly in Toronto.
Yeah, he probably doesn't even like the Senators.
Oh, you loser. They're not that bad.
They're doing okay.
They're doing average. They're an average team for average people. I'm throwing down the gauntlet. Come at me, Ottawa.
So anyway, I just have a whole bunch of different weird Ottawa monster stories.
Monster stories. Like they got a monster plague. I can't wait.
So this first one comes from OttawaRewind.com, and it's the sea monster in the Ottawa River.
Oh.
Best part about this one, it definitely happened.
Nice. I love a good monster story with like that documentation to be like, whatever the fuck you want to think. It happened.
So for hundreds of years, sightings of unclassified marine creatures have filled the logbooks of ships, menacing creatures that lurk beneath the waves. Often called sea serpents, so that this is more of a general sort of opening.
Okay.
These elusive creatures often appear on old maps as fanciful drawings of seafaring monsters with great teeth devouring entire ships. Scientists currently believe these sightings can be best explained as documented creatures such as the lungfish, oarfish, or even eels. Which we all know about how many times the eels got together and became one ball, and that was Loch Ness.
Okay. Also, supposedly,
Maybe.
speaking of Loch Ness, I didn't think it would come up. Supposedly, and we'll not talk about it next week, there's a man saying that the British Bigfoot is definitely extinct, but Loch Ness Monster is definitely real.
All right. Well, that's definitely one to research.
We'll look into that one.
Yet there's one sighting of a sea serpent that goes beyond just a visual interpretation. An incident that involved one being captured, not on the ocean, but right here in the Ottawa River. And I
Oh my.
do not know exactly where this is. It appears to be not that much further north than the American border.
This is happening in our backyard.
Along the Ottawa River near Arnprior, the waters widen as they stretch north, resembling more of a lake than a river, hence it being given the name Shat's Lake. It reaches from the once mighty Shat's Falls, now dammed for a hydro station, northwards to more rapids at Portage du Fort, near Renfrew. Again, no idea what any of these places are. But according to a map, not crazy far. Bookended by these two waterfalls, this 30-kilometer-long lake was the scene of much logging and timber transport during Ottawa's lumber boom of the mid to late 1800s. At that time, large volumes of lumber was being transported, well, it should say were being transported, downriver to the busy mills of Bytown. Many steamships were employed to carry both crews and supplies, as well as to tow logs to various points along the river. During this period of increased steamship travel on Shat's Lake, a number of these ships began to spot an unusual water creature of immense proportions in the lake. Described as a large serpentine creature, they need to, fucking people just learn to write a little bit. Don't use the same word 7 times.
Listen, I don't know what a thesaurus is, but I hear they're useful.
A well-respected Arn Prior citizen by the name of Robert Young related to the local newspaper his glimpse of an aquatic monster in Chats Lake, which he described as, quote, being of enormous size and proportions. Soon, those on the water in boats and those that swam in its cooling waters grew fearful of what sounded to be a large sea serpent in Chats Lake. Below Chats Falls, an 1880 newspaper article relates the story of a boy in a canoe encountering a serpent creature, quote, about the size of an ordinary telegraph pole, end quote, which that's huge.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
That's a good 20 feet minimum. Right?
Yeah, it's pretty huge, as you said.
And explains how an unknown serpent creature lurks in the Ottawa River, witnessed by many. A few years after Young's sighting, and also near Arn Prior, Captain Brown of the steamship Alliance saw a creature of the same description, large, serpentine, fast. With summer in full swing and like something from a Spielbergian film, you could just say Spielberg film.
No, Spielbergian.
I mean, they just don't want to say Jaws.
I like how they're like same words 7 times in a row, but I refuse to use the tired cliche of Jaws.
The legend of the sea serpent in Chats Lake reached epic proportions. Then one hot summer day in 1882, the creature was spotted again, but this time there was no escape for the Chats Lake monster.
Oh, that's when the metal drums start and our heroes step onto the beach.
Announced in the Prior Chronicle on August 26th of 1882, the elusive sea serpent of Chats Lake has been captured. Having struck terror in the hearts of superstitious lumbermen of the time, superstition became reality when the steamship Levi Young encountered the legendary creature of the lake. Departing the Snow Rapids near present-day Castleford, where the Bon Cher River empties into the Ottawa River, the crew of the Levi Young noticed a huge serpent creature swimming ahead of the boat. The newspaper article states that, quote, Mr. John Jurgen, chief engineer and a deckhand named Shaw, Robert, maybe?
Oh, Robert.
Jumped into a boat and started in pursuit of the reptile. They succeeded in getting within striking distance of the serpent when Mr. Durgan struck it a blow over the head with his oar. End quote.
Fucking awesome. Hand-to-hand, not hand-to-hand, but I mean like melee combat.
Or to face.
Yeah,
violence.
or to face combat.
This in turn enraged the creature, who churned the water into a furious froth, attacking the boat and the men inside. An oar was used to lay a powerful blow to the creature's neck, where it writhed to rest, and was then towed back to the steamship. So they fucking actually went to war with this giant monster and killed it with oars.
I love it. I need photos. Give me the photos, Nate. Upload the photos now.
They're all the photos that I've found have been like pen drawings.
No one had a camera for this epic moment. Was the camera even invented? Okay,
I think that it had been, but
no one has a camera
used for yeah.
Oh, that hurts, man. That fucking hurts.
Anyway, once back at the ship, the crew heaved the lifeless serpent aboard the deck of the Levi Young, where it was laid out for inspection. Aboard the ship lay dead a serpent creature measuring 11 feet in length and more than a foot in thickness. So pretty close. I mean, I'm guessing a telegraph pole might be shorter than a telephone pole, but still pretty sizable.
I mean, I always go with most water monsters more than likely are just misidentified eels that we've never seen before or outside the realm of the normal eel. And this sounds like it's just a huge fucking eel, which would scare the shit out of me too. And for all intents and purposes, is a sea serpent.
Well, and it does seem to look like a giant eel.
I know Jordan soured on the idea, but I still think things like this, maybe even Champy, what was that other one? Chessie and the Loch Ness Monster are probably eels.
Giant ass eels. Yeah.
Giant ass eels. There's so much eel DNA in there. In all the water. Just test water. You'll find an eel.
It goes on to say that the jaws of the creature were pried open and measured a span of half a foot. So, I don't know, 6 inches on a bite. Not huge, but devastating. I mean, 6 inches. 6 inches on my body is decent. Like, that's a huge chunk of flesh. Go through most of my arm.
Yes.
No further records of the creature have been found, and whatever happened to the carcass of the Shat Slate creature remains unknown. Was it some
they
sort
probably
of ancient...
ate it? It's probably in a stew, if we're being honest.
Was it some sort of ancient fish trapped between the falls on either end of the lake after the prehistoric Champlain Sea receded? Was it an abnormally large snake, catfish, or eel? I think we've decided. It is unclear as to what exactly plied the waters of the Ottawa River those years in the late 1800s, but there's one thing for certain. A large serpent creature was indeed captured, so as to be lazily splash around at our cottages this summer without fear of sharks or jellyfish. Remember, there was once another type of creature lurking in the dark waters of the Ottawa River. A creature that could still very well be out there and possibly very hungry.
Ooh, a hippo?
Yeah, probably.
The North American hungry hippo.
So then here's some ghost stories from Ottawa. This is from facesmag.ca. 3 spooky Ottawa locations and their ghost stories.
Hit us with the spook.
First one, Fairmont Chateau Laurier. A single glance at this castle on the river is enough to convince most ghost believers that this iconic establishment is haunted. From the grand turrets to the classic interior, this 5-star hotel calls back to times long since past. Though it seems there may still be a few people from that era that never truly left. The hotel has gained its haunted reputation over the years due to reports from staff and visitors alike, with one of the most iconic stories involving a deep, clear, baritone voice singing in the stairwell, only for it to be revealed moments later that there was no one there. While there is much speculation as to who the spirit is that haunts the grand halls of the hotel, most locals believe it to be the spirit of Charles Melville Hayes, the president of the Grand Trunk Railway, and the one who commissioned the building of the chateau. Unfortunately for Hayes, he would never see his hotel in all of its finished glory, as he was traveling aboard the Titanic just days before the grand opening.
He was on top of the world.
After Hay's passing, it's believed that his spirit may have continued his voyage, coming home to the hotel to see his work completed at last.
Crazy. What a crazy coincidence.
Yeah, I mean...
or curse, one of the two.
To die in the sea and then have to live in this hotel in Ottawa. This one is just called The Canal, although it has a much longer name. While the Rideau Canal is a tourist destination known for its beauty and recreational assets, it's also home to a rather dark history. The canal was constructed mainly by poor French Canadian and Irish Canadian immigrants who were subjected to incredibly dangerous work. As canals are constructed.
As they are.
Which would turn out to be, this is kind of insane, which would turn out to be fatal for upwards of 1,000 of these workers.
I mean, wow. What was the year again?
It does not say.
I know we're well past the time of that's too many people.
1,000 people is a lot.
I think how many hundreds have to go before you go, we should make the work safer? Is there a way we can make this work safer, maybe?
Well, apparently it's thousands.
I mean, yeah, sorry. We know the number. It's not hundreds.
But yeah, upwards of 1,000 people died building this canal. Between the unsafe working conditions and the spike of malaria cases, which, helps, but doesn't make it better.
It doesn't, but it helps.
Which were sweeping the nation at the time. Many workers lost their lives during the process. You know how you just work through malaria. It'll pass.
It will pass. Eat some spicy soup.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Since Ottawa was in its infancy, social structures. Let me take that sentence again. Social structures like graveyards were not yet set up. And instead of a traditional burial, most of those who tragically passed on were simply left in the canal to be covered by the elements.
Canada, why are you so crazy?
Yeah, they just let the heat burn off the dead.
If you get, to be fair, you get anything hot enough, it will burn. So they weren't wrong.
I mean,
and sometimes I don't want to touch the dead, just burn off the dead. Let it get hot enough. The heat will deal with it.
That's true. You have to keep digging this canal.
I have to keep digging the canal. Without the canal, capitalism can't happen.
Oh, no. Other Corey died. I guess we'll just leave him in there, eh?
We should. For the Corys.
Well, he'll melt like the first one. There's also, this third one is the High Ottawa Jail Hostel. It may sound hard to believe, but one of Ottawa's most successful hostels is actually housed in an old jail.
Oh,
what a fun place to live. The High Ottawa Jail, originally known as the Carleton County Gaol, was opened in 1862. And from this time on, it was clear that there was corruption within the walls of the historic building. Reports from the time state that prisoners were abused, neglected, starved, and often tortured. and those who died from mistreatment were being laid to rest in the makeshift graveyard set up on the property. Again, with no graveyard. What are you doing?
I mean, am I a monster? Because I believe that. Just bury him wherever. Who needs a graveyard? I'm like a Frank Reynolds, just do what you will with the body. Make a puppet.
I mean, yeah, I'm with you on do what you want with my body.
Nah, do what you want with everyone's body. I'm fascist about it. I think all bodies should be used as puppets after we die.
I mean,
it's not a religious thing either.
No, it's more like a kind of really great Grand Guignol version of the Muppets.
Yeah, remember what am I trying to say? North Korean parades?
Yeah.
Now picture all that dead bodies.
Do I remember North Korean parades?
Yeah.
Not really.
Well, you should go out there, have some fun. But all of it weekend at Bernie's style puppets just parading for me. That's what type of leader I would be.
All right. I can stand behind that.
It's not religious either. It's just something I demand to be done.
Well, anyway, the High Ottawa Jail Hostel is often regarded as the most haunted location in Ottawa, with some visitors reporting seeing full-body apparitions, along with disembodied voices screaming or crying through the halls.
Ooh, I hate it.
It sounds fucking awful, and I do not know why you would stay there. They still have, like, the cells up. You go and open a fucking prison door, and that's where you're staying. People
get to do whatever they want until they die, in which case I demand that they get used as a puppet in a parade for my own pleasure. But do what you want, man. It's not something I would want to do. My version of like a ghost stay would be like go to the Stanley Hotel with a nice bed. And if I get haunted, I get haunted. But there's some cool stories here, that type of vacation.
I have stayed at the Stanley, and it is quite good.
I hear good things. I hear spooky things, too.
It's also much cheaper to not stay at the Stanley and just go there and do the tours.
No, I demand a bed.
All right.
I demand to fuck in the bed. I demand to fuck in the bed after the tour, not during the tour.
There's also, and this is going to sound weird, an amazing amount of taffy to be found made on site in Estes Park.
We're the taffy capital of the middle of the country, if you think about it.
I can't imagine seeing more taffy anywhere else. There's like more than 10 places who are showing taffy pulling happening in their front window.
Colorado, come for the ghost that Stephen King didn't see at the Stanley. Stay for the taffy.
Many believe, anyway, that the apparition seen haunting the halls of the jail may be the infamous former inmate Patrick J. Whelan, who was imprisoned and eventually executed for the murder of politician Darcy McGee. And I bet that there's some weird story to that too that's fun, but
I'm sure he was being an American hero,
Visitors report seeing him writing in his cell, or walking towards the gallows, which are still up and available to view to this day.
Nice. I like it when places do that.
Yeah, what a decent move. Leaving the gallows up. And where are we on time?
We can do a part 2 if you need. Because mine's a part 2. I'm doing part 3. In fact, I got a lot of Hatman stories.
This thing is much longer than we have. So yes, let's parts to it.
Part 2.
And in the meantime, that was some scary shit from Ottawa.
I got spooked for one of them. Those ghost stories were freaky deaky. The monster one was fascinating, man. Like they definitely made monster stew.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that thing had to just be a giant ass eel.
I can't imagine, and our chat said it. Cheesebot was all like, first of all, he says once the waters flow, it will wash the bodies away. But what's the point of not hunting of hunting monsters if not to eat them?
Well, I mean, that was an ongoing Jordan segment. What does this taste like? I can't remember what the actual title was.
Yeah, but he did Paranormal Carnivore, if you will, and all sorts of people who ate monsters reported, wrote it down. This monster existed, and I had the rump roast of it. Most of them preferred chicken.
What does a giant taste like? Well, mostly just like another guy I ate.
Yeah, I call it tall pig. All right, everyone. Extra long pig. Yeah. All right, everyone. That's going to do it for us. I've been Roger, joined by Nate. Jordan, once again, if you're out there past the 4th digit, please send us a fax on the bunker fax machine, and we'll try and find you. If
We'd
not,
like to see a vector.
If you can fax us a vector, let us know. If not, me and Nate will buy graphing calculators with the Werewolf Radar fortune, and we will learn slowly how to use them again. If you
83, we're not going to 84.
We're not going to 84. If you are still with us, thank you for listening to the whole episode. And on our wherever you like following us, do it on our YouTube would help the most, truly. Comment with your favorite formula on your graphing calculator. Just interested. Is it
possible that anyone listening actually even remembers what it is?
No, better comment. Tell us what your favorite, tell us your favorite ghost story, to be honest. It doesn't have to be yours, but just let us know, ghost stories, something you've heard. Try to remember it as best you can and put it in the comments. You could always go to our Twitch, follow us there, twitch.tv/werewolf_radar. We play D&D every Monday, plus other games if we're not doing D&D, and every once in a while and beyond. Best way to truly check us out is our website, werewolfradar.com. You can find old and new episodes. And I keep lying, but I just keep saying this because it is something I remember how to say. But if you want as well, follow us on our Patreon, patreon.com/werewolf radar. And you can get extra paranormal goodies such as grave nuggets, fiction, paranormal merchandise whenever we update it. But you always get 3 months into your patronage. And whenever we update the merchandise, everyone gets new merchandise as well, which we need to do. And then maybe have it out for the new year. 2024 Werewolf Radar merch. Let's snag Jordan.
So much stuff.
Let's snag Jordan. New merch, Jordan.
Well, I believe we also promised immortality.
Oh yeah, damn it. We did purchase or promise immortality. So if you sign up for you know what? You don't even have to give us money for the immortality. Just subscribe to wherever you can find us, our YouTube, our podcast hostings, wherever you do. Give us 5 stars. You know what? For every star you give us, you get 1 immortality. So give us 5 stars for 5 immortalities wherever you can. Or if you're on YouTube, give us a like and we'll give you 5 immortalities. It's easier to work on YouTube, but regardless, 5 immortalities for everyone. We'll all be starborn together and we'll all cruise the skies. And now on the count of 3, let's sign off, Nate, for this week's episode. 1, 2, 3. Punch the skies, Spaceman Joe.